Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first student council in 2025. And yeah, before starting the council, I would like to ask you guys to raise your hand before you speak, and also speak for me, not speak to each other, and also make sure to say your name before you speak if it's your first time or you haven't spoken for a while. And yeah. Moving on to minutes of the previous meeting. If you guys have any corrections or questions, feel free to ask or speak. If there's no corrections, these minutes are passed. We have one open place available, which is permanent role. And if you guys would like to nominate yourself, come up and speak to Harris. Yeah.
Look, this is for open place. Scrutiny will happen later on if you want to do it. So open place means that instead of having to ask for a casual place each council, you have a place in the next councils anyway. Do you want that anyway? No, you can get scrutiny. You can have both. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah, step by step. So basically,
Yeah.
just say my name and say there's no one else standing. So unless
We have one nomination. She is Sohala Mamos. Is there any objection? If not, she is elected. Moving on to steering committee report, I would like to ask Jasmine to come up and explain about the report.
no objections to that. So
Oh yeah, sorry. There was no objection. It's passed. Moving on to scrutiny committee report. Was there any objection?
So Leo committee. Oh, sorry.
Everything is
Scrutiny
on.
passed as well.
Okay, there was no objection. It's passed as well. Moving on to State of the Union report, I'd like to ask Leo to come up.
Hear this. You don't know how happy I am that we have a mic and I'm not shouting across the room anymore. So welcome back, everyone, but a lot of you, welcome to Council. It's really, really great to see so many of you here. We hope that your assessments all went well and you had a restful winter break. So as you've probably seen from the marketing plastered all over the building and social media, it's currently election season at NUSU. So if you've not nominated yourself yet, you've got until, is it 10 p.m. tonight? Until 10 p.m. tonight. So you've got till the end of council and then a bit to work out if you want to nominate yourself or not for any of our sabbatical, liberation or chair roles. Please feel free to ask myself, any of the other SABs, about what our roles are like if you're considering running. And we've also got the chairs and liberation officers in the room if you'd like to speak with them. So this semester, it's all about democracy at NUSU, even more so than it usually is, because it's also time for our National Union of Students affiliation referendum. And we'd love it if you put yourself forward for either the Remain or Leave side of the campaign. So a lot has happened since last council. So I'll start off with some updates on various motions. Sorry, can you see me where I am? Because I can see some of you like kind of turned backwards. Should I move forwards? Am I okay here? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Is this a bit better? Brilliant. Sorry, I could see like Alex twisted all the way like that. So starting with some motions updates on the Student Spaces motion that passed last council. I've joined a Student Spaces working group at the university. At the moment, we're talking about things like computer clusters and optimizing them, but one of the priorities will be ensuring clear social spaces, such as common rooms around campus. Social spaces will also be considered in the NUSU refurbishment once we've got the funds, and it's also been factored into the design of the refurbished Kingsgate. So once that's set up, there will actually be spaces for students to just kind of go in and study and socialize and exist. On the enhanced training for security and estate staff from the November Council, the university EDI team are currently working on a university-wide EDI training plan for the 2025 to 2029 academic years. And we've told them about this motion. They've said they'd take it on board. We're waiting on an update on where the review is and what focus on anti-racism and conflict management there will be for security and estate staff. It was just that unfortunately when I reached out to them, it was right before they met, so they weren't able to give me any more details. On the peaceful protest motion from November, we've been working with the university on protest guidance. You can find an updated version on the, if you go into the documents, if you go to the State of the Union where it says please find the updated version here, the version's linked there. And it's not perfect, we know it's not perfect, but we do hope that it does a much better job at safeguarding peaceful protest rights and is kind of a lot more pro-protest than, I can't think of the word, than kind of pro-bureaucracy, at least in the way it reads. On the ethical investment motion from like October, November, I think it was, a bit of exciting news. The university's investment managers will be presenting to students on their investments and kind of ethical investment as well. In March, dates are to be confirmed, but I do have a catch up with the university financey people next week on this. I can't remember her job title and I'm going to apologize when I see her. But this is a good chance to go if you're interested in ethical investment and investment in general, but also if like you're a business student, a finance student, just someone who wants to learn more about investment and finance, this will be a great opportunity for you as well. So keep an eye on our social medias for the dates. On now going back to a motion from not just last semester, but last academic year, one of our motions was a call for a ceasefire in Gaza. So we're really, really glad to hear that there has been a ceasefire at the moment. And we encourage students to drop by the support and advice hub if they'd like to talk to anyone about this. As usual, if you'd like to know more about what individual sabbatical officers have been up to, please feel free to go through the reports in the council papers. But some kind of general key highlights from our team and NUSU in general include delivering a presentation on how the cost of living has been impacting students, including summarizing results from the cost of living survey to key university figures, including members of executive board and a university governor. We've also had refreshers, which was really, really successful, thanks to our wonderful activities team and SABs. And it was lovely having so many of you there. Thank you to all of the committee volunteers who came along and made it a great day. You might have also seen some of the SABs. We've been kind of out in the wild around campus over the last couple of weeks. We've been hosting our first few outreach stalls. This was something that came up in the last council debate, having SABs go out more and not just be kind of holed away in meetings, so we get a chance to talk to people more. So I'm really glad we've managed to make that happen for this semester, and we're looking forward to the rest of our outreach sessions this year. Last month, we also met with the Chief Executive of Newcastle City Council to discuss how the City Council, both universities and both students' unions, as well as Newcastle College, can work together to make Newcastle a better city to live in. And we're also due to meet the Mayor of the North East Combined Authority next month, which is really, really exciting. And this will be to discuss sort of student issues in the North East, but specifically healthcare, transport and housing. Our work lobbying for the Renters' Rights Bill has also gone well, with caps on upfront rent in the new bill, and that is now being read in the House of Lords. So we are also trying to get in contact with Lords and lobby them to make sure that it stays student-friendly. In practice, that means spending a lot of time on the Parliament website and trying to pull out people's email addresses. Kind of on the more serious front of things, we know that communications have gone out to students around workforce resizing at the university. So for a bit of context, at the moment, the university's aiming to reduce staffing costs by about 20 million a year. And I know this sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. When you look at it in the context of the entire university, it's 5% of staffing costs. So you won't come in and find half of your lecturers are gone one day. It's not going to be anything like that. This is because of long-term issues with higher education funding and lower international student recruitment than expected. So at the moment, the university's hoping to kind of get that 20 million a year staff reduction by giving staff the option to leave voluntarily as part of their voluntary severance scheme. But if as a last resort, not enough staff leave through voluntary severance, the university might look to make people redundant. This would be first through voluntary redundancy, then compulsory redundancy, and criteria for any compulsory redundancies will only be decided after consulting with trade unions, and I think the one we're all most familiar with would probably be UCU, for example. Aside from reducing staffing costs, the university is also hoping to work more efficiently in general to cut on is the phrase non-pay costs, that's the word they use, non-pay costs. So in practice, for students, I know this all sounds a bit alarming and all over the place, but there's not actually likely to be that major of an impact because the university is still trying to prioritize the student experience. So there's no plans to close down degree programs or schools or anything like that. In future academic years, there might be less optional modules available, but all of the core teaching and learning aims will still be delivered and met. If you have any more questions about this, please feel free to come to us and we'll do the best we can to help you or point you in the direction of someone who can help you. We know that kind of as a result of this, UCU is balloting around industrial action right now. We don't know the results yet or what kind of industrial action they would want to do. But whatever the outcome is, our priority is going to be the same. It's going to be supporting students, mitigating the impact on students' education, and making sure that students can still learn as effectively as possible. I know this is a lot of finance talk today, so bear with me because finances aren't great anywhere right now. But with the current financial climate, NUSU is also undergoing a restructure and pay review. This is so that we've got fair, consistent and transparent pay across all of our colleagues. Costs have increased a lot in the last 3 years. NUSU's gotten a lot more expensive to run. And we're restructuring so that we know that NUSU is going to be sort of financially sustainable and viable in the future, but that we're still able to meet student needs and all of the core aims. So we're still able to deliver all of those kind of like basic essential things that NUSU is here for. In other news, you've probably heard about and seen and heard the lift works going on. Unfortunately, the contractors have found an issue with the lift shaft structure and supports. Again, I know that sounds scary. It's not as bad as it sounds, and it's going to be fairly straightforward to fix from what I've heard. But it means that there's been a delay to completing the works. Yeah, that's how I feel as well. And you can now expect a working lift on the 7th of March. Please be mindful of this when you're organizing activities because it means that not everyone will be able to get to all the floors in the building. And if you're having any issues with access, the support and advice hub is on the ground floor, so you can always come in and have a chat with one of us. Thank you. That is the state of the union in February. And I think that's over to SAB questions, isn't it, Claire?
Does anyone have any objection or question about the report?
I know that was a very long report and the full thing is in the council papers.
If not, we're moving on to question and mandates about safety care officers. I'd like to ask all the sub officers to come up. If
Are you okay back there? Do you want to come forward so we can see you? Lucy and Alex can go in the back there.
If anyone has any interest about the rule, just feel free to ask them. Oh yeah, sorry. I would like to ask the sub officers to introduce yourself first.
Oh gosh, yeah, sorry. I probably should have done that when I started my report. I'm Leo, I'm the union president.
Hello, I'm Jasmine, I'm the education officer.
Hi, I'm Swati, I'm the activities officer. Hisham. I'm the Wellbeing and Equality Officer.
Hiya, I'm Alex. I'm the Athletic Union Officer.
Hi, I'm Lucy, and I'm the Student Media Officer.
Yes.
I think for me, the nerdy answer would be learning more about sort of like legal stuff and policy stuff and how that gets put in practice. But I think the kind of more fun and emotional answer is sort of like, as a student, I've seen a lot of things that have gone wrong and a lot of systems that have failed. And I get now as a SAB a lot of students coming to me with those same issues or similar issues or different issues. And I really, really enjoy knowing that there's something I can do about it. If someone comes up to me and says, I've got this problem, can you help me fix it? I can actually do something to help fix that problem, whether it's an immediate, this is who you talk to now to get access to that, or if it's a longer term, let's write a policy for this, let's put this on the agenda of that committee. I know, I know.
Thanks for the question. I would say it's so cheesy, but connecting with as many students as possible. And I would say the spaces that we have access to, our voices can have so much power. And it's been so nice going into rooms with students and hearing not only the things that are going wrong, but also the great work that's going on all over the university, in schools, by students, student-led projects. It's just been so empowering to see so much good work happening despite so much going wrong. Yeah, so connecting with people.
Yeah, I'm just gonna literally repeat verbatim what you just said. But I think me and Alex especially have really very student-facing roles. So if you're considering one of those two roles, it's great if you want to interact with as many students as possible. So I think that has been my favorite part. But it's also not normal to have like this much influence on an organization when you're 21. So it's a great learning experience as well.
Um, oh, sorry, can you hear me okay? I'd say very similar answers actually to Jasmine and Swati, that we've got very student-facing positions, and it's been really, really interesting and quite inspiring going around all the different student clubs, because they're fully student-led, and just seeing how each committee is run, but also all the stuff they're doing, not only on the field or on the court or on their competitions, but what they're doing like in their own little communities. Some of it working with charities, but also working with other universities across the UK. It's just really cool to see kind of what they've been getting up to on their own. Also with the obviously support of the union and sports centre as well. But it's just really cool seeing people do their own stuff. Yeah, that's been the main thing. And then also that we're thrashing Northumbria at varsity so far, which is great. Yeah, that's been another thing. And we're going up in bucks, so that as well, very happy.
Thank you. I think in terms of student media as well, I'd say basically echoing, I'm sorry, but also the the community that we've managed to create and the relationships that we've all got, and being able to give students the opportunities that they want to be able to like see their name in print or like be behind the TV set at the show. But yeah, I think it's been really fun. So yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Hi, thanks for the question. And the part that I liked in this work is similar to what they said, the student-facing part, sitting in the hub, facing students, and from tiny stuffs, helping them like navigating them through the university places, and to lending them hearing their problems, trying to solve it. It's that part of job is something that I really like, and I feel like worth being in this role. So anyone who feels like have a lot of helping tendency and want to help people a lot, I think well-being and communities role will be a great role fit for you people, and definitely need to stand for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did it match your initial expectations of the job
So for me, I worked a lot with Yassine, the old president, last year, so I knew a lot of what he did. There were still some bits that caught me completely off guard, like the amount of documents involved in some of our meetings, or I think it's like, if this makes sense, the thing that came as the biggest surprise to me was how closely we work with very senior people in the university, but also in the government. And it was just kind of like, oh God, I didn't expect that. Like, I'm 22, I've just graduated. I still don't know how to pay council tax. And you're expecting me to work with all of these people who are very, very senior and achieved in their field.
No, it's a really hello. Yeah, it's a really unique position to be in, and I came in with no expectations, because if there's anything we've learned, every single year is different, and every cohort of students is different, and there's always something going on behind the scenes to be working on. So I had no idea about half of the work that I would have been involved in this year. That have been the most rewarding rooms for me to be in. So I've enjoyed every minute of it, however stressful it gets, however many thousands of documents we have to read about governance and all of that. But I think that the thing that surprised me the most is how quickly I've been able to pick up like higher education governance and policy jargon and acronyms. And that's really as interesting as it sounds. But yeah, lots of fun. Exceeded my expectations, I would say.
I think I kind of came into the role expecting to deal a lot with like societies and talk to students and stuff, but I think something that did surprise me was how much we actually work in a team and like work as like a unit, because everyone has obviously their own like individual remit, but when it comes to kind of bigger issues, we all do talk and discuss like what our response is going to be quite a lot. So like it does teach you a lot about like teamwork and like compromise. Yeah, I think that's the part I wasn't really expecting.
Uh, One thing that wasn't there in the job description was that I will be able to, I'll have to attend dozens of meetings, university meetings. So that was something that I didn't expect. And first 2 months, I was literally not knowing what from the meeting I was getting out of it. And then I realized, okay, how it works and how things go works. And gradually, and at the end of 6 months, we just started doing stuff and narrowing things down and doing tasks, forgetting what was there in the requirements and the description. And after 6 months, when we had the chance once to look through the description and what we were actually doing, it was shocking, surprising to know that I've been doing it, matching with it, but without consciousness. So that's how it tailored from attending meetings without knowing what to do, and then getting to know and going to the description. So yeah, it does get to know.
I think we've all become very good at Microsoft Teams, and that's the main thing. I think coming into the job, I didn't realize how much sort of organizational admin-y stuff that there'd be, but I think that's thank you. But I think that's something that I've definitely like really improved on, and now I know like my own system and my own way of working and how to sort of deal with all of that. So that was a really good thing that I've learned.
Thank you. I think it's really unique roles being in this position, because you go from like one extreme to the other, from being like an influencer when you've got to do random TikToks with your exec. Shout out to you guys, sorry about that. You've got to do cringe stuff like that, to also then sit, with the Vice Chancellor and the senior leadership team at the university, talking about really, really important pressing issues which are affecting our students, to then the next day, be in a complaint hearing with a different student group, to then the next day go out and watch a bunch of sport and then go out on a Wednesday night. Like, it's your remit is so large, which is great. You learn so much, even just like professionalism stuff, from how to chair a meeting properly, or how to manage different teams or how to talk to people in a professional manner or send professional emails. Like it's really, really cool. I didn't expect there'd be that much involved in it. Yeah, it's such a unique role. I don't think you can get this kind of like power or influence at this young of an age without that experience or educational backing. So yeah, that's probably what I didn't realise about the role as a whole. So,
Does anyone have any more questions? Yes.
Just because someone has a Wikipedia page doesn't mean they're scary. You can still speak your mind. And like, no, and ironically, I got scared by this so many times because I'd be in a meeting and I'd forget this person's name. So I'd forget who this person was. So I'd look up their name at Newcastle and expecting to go to like the page on the uni website, and I'd end up on bloody Wikipedia instead, reading about their childhood. So don't get put off by that. It's like you're working with powerful people, but at the end of the day, they're all just people, and so are you.
Froze. I would say have faith in the process. Oh my God, trust the process. Truly. Because changes, when you get into a position like this, you want to be able to change the world in 12 months. And it's never going to be like that. Not it's not realistic. And you have to have faith in yourself to be able to make tangible changes in the time that you have, and have faith in the fact that your work now will be having a positive influence on generations of people after you, and that is going to be your legacy. So that's my top tip.
I think mine is ask questions and like realize that nobody expects you to just know everything as soon as you kind of get into the position, because like how on earth would that work? But at the same time, like try your best to not have imposter syndrome, and like realize that you are meant to be in the rooms you're in and you're in there for a reason, and don't be afraid to speak up.
It's kind of similar. Sorry, it's kind of similar to what she said. Speak up, especially in the meetings, university meetings. Especially, what I would like to say is they use a lot of acronyms and very complex terms. But what they wanted to say is very simple thing. So at the big simple thing, they say very complicatedly. So sometimes when you're at the initial meetings, you will feel, oh, this is very something different, out of world stuff and scary meetings. But it's nothing like that. Once you get to talk, once you get to ask questions in those meetings, you will know, and they also will know how important, like they will realize your value in those meetings. So just speak up in those every meetings that you get, and ask questions. There.
Yeah, I think on quite a similar vein, I think the main thing that like I would stress is to trust your instincts and know that actually everyone in that room wants to hear what your opinion is, even if you don't think that it's a good one. It actually might not be the way that they've thought before. So that's like the whole point of these roles, to sort of see that perspective as well. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
thank you. I think my top tip would be disruptive. You're only in the role for such a short amount of time, and following from what Jasmine said, it's really hard to make some impactful change within that time. However, you are the closest to the students. You've just come from being a student, so be as disruptive as you can be, and be as honest and scrutinising as you can be, because a lot of these people are quite, the people that you will be working with at the university are quite separated from student life. So if there's something that you don't agree with, I think speak up and come up with a new idea of how you can do it. It might not be accepted and it might not be changed straight away, but you might leave some kind of lasting legacy in that. Yeah, so be disruptive. Thanks, Libby.
Any more questions? Yes.
I'm probably slightly biased because my degree is in zoology. Yes, absolutely. And I'm hoping to see more and more of that. I think it's really frustrating because it feels like everything when you're working with universities moves at a glacial pace. And sustainability is definitely one of them. But I think it helps that when you're talking about sort of sustainability things, there's usually circles of people who are really, really passionate about it within the university, within kind of like other students' unions, and it makes you feel a bit less alone working on that. Do any of you want to say anything?
No, I think you.
Fair.
Yeah, you pretty much touched it.
Any more questions? If not, I'd like to ask you have a sit. Like,
So whoever this might go. Sorry, do you mind sticking that over there, please? Yeah, don't drop it.
there's still no objection. Next, we're moving on to officer reports and executive committee minutes. There was no objections before the council, so this minutes are passed. We're moving on to motions. We have one business motions, but there was no objection, so it's passed. We have two constitutional motions. I'd like to ask Jasmine to explain the first constitutional motion to come up.
So this motion is essentially putting into formal policy the practice that we've been following in student council for a long time. So because the two previous student councils were sub-quorate, we kind of had to address the fact that there's actually nothing in the policy to guide us on what we should do in that case. So the practice that we've been following is that business discussed and motions voted on, all decisions made at a sub-quorate council are passed indicatively to then be rubber stamped as a business motion at the following council. And that's the procedure that we've been following. And the procedure with business motions is that if there are no objections to those motions before the council, they are passed. So steering met before council and just kind of determined that our interpretation of the policy as it is in line with the practice that we've been following. So this motion is to amend the constitution to include that procedure in the policy in case it were to happen again. Have I missed anything? So the one kind of technicality is that in case of a sub-quorate council, the business motion containing everything that was indicatively discussed and passed would be sent out, Harris, the day after? Or the Friday? Yes. Yeah. The day after council. So in this case, it would be tomorrow. And then within 6 days of the council, the minutes would be sent out of the council. So all voting members and all attendees would have access to the recording and the minutes to be able to look back and make a judgment on everything that was discussed. You would then have 6 business days after the minutes were sent out to then raise an objection. If no objections are raised within those 6 days, the business motion is passed at the council. Does that make sense? I'm getting nods. Oh, yes. Tom, was that a no? Or, okay, thank you. our logic for that was that the 6 working days thing lines up with meetings of steering committee for those councils where they're quite close together, like between the November and December ones, but also that 6 working days is a fairly ample amount of time for people to make a sound judgment if there was anything that needed to be raised. So the resolve is just to approve the changes in the Strategy and Guidance K document, which has also been sent out with the papers, which contains everything that I've explained. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about the motion? No?
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
So, what if your situation, let's say, if it happened at the last council
Mhm.
meeting, and then there wouldn't have been a meeting for the best part of 2 months,
Mhm.
the next one, would the motion just be sort of kept in holding for the entire time until the new meeting, or would there be something short-term in place?
So if you're saying like between the previous council and now, for example, so that's why we've brought in the 6 working days, so that, let's say after that council in December, the minutes would be sent out 6 days after that, and then you would have 6 days between that day and 6 days after to raise an objection to those things being passed.
So, if there was an objection, then nothing would happen until the following council.
It would have to come back as an ordinary motion to the next council. Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you. That's the part I'd missed.
Any more questions? No? You can have a sit. We have another constitutional motions. Yeah. Oh, yes. Before that, does anyone have any opinion for or against the motion? Yes. Oh, which size are you in?
I am speaking for the motion. I was there when we wrote it. I'm speaking for the motion because it's really annoying if we have a non-quorum council. There's something time sensitive. We really need things to pass, and then we just kind of end up waiting a month to see whether we can pass it or not, or we have to take it to trustee board and get we're trustees, get board to approve it on behalf of council, which to me, it makes it feel like it takes away a lot of the power and agency in council, and I don't want to have to do that if we have a time-sensitive motion and we, like the complaints motion earlier this year or the elections regulations motion, if we have a time-sensitive motion, the council's not quorum. I don't like having to take it to trustee board because I like these decisions being made by students, and for me, this is a way of making sure that the power and agency around those time-sensitive motions stay with students, even if the councils aren't quorum.
Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Just as a point of information, just for clarifying for the room, we are at quorum today, in case there was any concern about that.
And we're very, very happy about that.
Does anyone have any more opinions to speak?
Can I just ask you a point of information? What percentage of the trustees board is sabbatical officers?
I should know this because I chair it, George. It's 7 sabbatical officers, 2 student trustees, and 5 external trustees.
So that means that the sabbatical officers could, in theory, vote to authorise a thing that the trustees do just as that have lost themselves, if the 7 to 7.
Does anyone have any opinions to speak? Yes. Sorry. It should be a question. Oh, no, sorry. It should be your opinion for or against the motion, not a question. Sorry. Yeah, just remind it should be your opinion for or against the motion, not the question. Does anyone have any more opinions that you would like to speak? Yes. Sorry, Tom, can I ask you to come up? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom. I'm the chair of scrutiny. Last October, we had a discipline motion come to council. We weren't quorate in October, no, last November, sorry. We weren't quorate in November or December, which means officially, if it hadn't gone to board, it would have only passed today. So I think this motion is important to get important things like that through, which reduced the overall workload of the SABs and made them more working for everyone else instead of focusing specifically on those things that the motion changed. They would have been, caught up in all that stuff instead of working for all of you. So I think this motion is really good thing in order to make sure that things get through in a timely manner. So important motions like the discipline motion and others get through on time.
Does anyone would like to share more opinions? Yeah, then we're going to do a vote.
Just be clear that there's questions first that people can ask Jasmine when Jasmine's in front to clarify. After that, it's only speeches against or for the motions for which they have to go up to the front to do. If someone wants to ask a question after that, they can technically, but they have to be clear it's a question and you decide if you want to allow it or not. So that's up to you. But like, don't let someone sneak in a question as a it makes it confusing then.
Okay.
Can you say if anyone's having any difficulty to put their hands up? If anyone's having any difficulty, put their hands up and then that will come up.
Yeah.
Put your hand up. No. Just
If anyone have any difficulties, raise your hand, please.
just knock your hammer and say that again because other people heard you. Just tell them if you've got difficulties to put their hands up to get help.
If anyone has any difficulties about voting, raise your hand, please. Yeah.
Put high up and that will come and help you. And help you out too.
Now the vote is closed. So this motion is passed. Next, we have another constitutional motions, and I would like to ask Alex to come up and explain.
Do you mind if I not? I don't have to use the mic, do I? I can just shout if that's all right, if you can all hear me. Essentially, I'm asking for an update to the disciplinary and general misconduct regulations, Annex D.3. Those of you that were here in November would have remembered the motion that came through and that was passed about changing the complaints policy. Essentially, I'm just asking for two small changes to be made to it. This was essentially brought to light after a recent investigation that took place a few months ago, which highlighted, um, yeah, some really helpful changes if they are to be passed today. The first one is just removing that chair wording from the motion for sabbatical officers to always chair the disciplinary hearings. Um, yeah, this will mean the chair could either be a full-time sabbatical officer or a students' union staff member. There's lots of reasons for this, and I hope the SABs in the room will support me on this. But sometimes there's quite sensitive cases, and it's really difficult as a SAB and as a recent graduate to be put in the position against your peers. And I don't really think that's the whole point of having a SAB. I believe the complaints hearing should be student driven but not student run, and the SAB would still be involved in the complaint but more on the panel as an advisory setting opposed to actually dictating how the hearing is being chaired as a whole. Um, and there's also no specialist training for us SABs to be chairing those meetings, so I think we're quite out of our depth if we are in control of the rather sensitive ones. And the second change is just to some of the wording about those involved in the hearing bringing a friend, and it's more that the friend they can bring along is there as a welfare support and should not speak on behalf of the person who's being complained against. I hope that makes sense grammatically. Is that okay? Hope you all read the paper. It's got the full change on wording in there. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any question about the motion?
No, the text is quite small.
Yes.
I did not quite understand the first motion regarding the chair. So, if not the sabbatical officers, then whom?
A full-time member of staff of the Students' Union.
All right. So, don't you think the integrity of the position would be compromised in such cases?
I mean, if it's in certain cases the SAB still could sit as chair, it would be up to the panel to decide depending on the situation. Um, However, I personally think having a staff member that's actually gone through adequate training and have expertise in their area to be able to dictate how that kind of complaints hearing goes, I think that would be better for the students, opposed to someone which doesn't actually have that knowledge and is actually in some cases could be quite close to to the students that they're actually running a complaint against. But it is up to the panel given the situation of the complaint and the severity of it.
So, in any case, we do have a panel. Why are we specifically bringing up the chair term?
Because currently right now in the writing, if you see this point here, it has full-time sabbatical officer and then it has chair in writing that it has to be them to chair it. However, what we're going to be doing hopefully is removing that bracket, and there's just a point at the end that that the panel can decide who the chair is. So it could be the SAB in most cases, or it could be the staff member. It's just up to the panel to decide.
Any more questions? Yes. Does anyone have any more questions? No? Like, you can have a sit. Thank you. Does anyone have any opinion for or against the motions? Yeah. Yeah.
Hi. So I brought the original motion to council in November, and since then we've realised that a lot of the cases that we'd be dealing with can be quite intense or triggering for sabbatical officers to deal with, and so this just allows the flexibility to delegate the position of chair to somebody else in that case. It wouldn't necessarily apply to every single complaint procedure or complaint that we deal with, but I think it's just probably good to have that option.
Thank you. Does anyone like to share your opinion? Yes. Can I ask you to come up, please? Thank you. Oh yeah. Which side are you?
Four.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm an e-exec, and I've been involved with some procedures, and it's very hard to like separate yourself from being involved, especially if you know the people. Obviously, the SABs have just come out of being students, so the likelihood of them knowing lots of the committee members or the people involved is very high, and in that situation, it's very hard to not be biased towards people. Also, obviously, everything's confidential. It's very hard when people who you know are trying to ask you questions and things like that. And I just think by taking that away from the SABs if needed is going to make the whole procedure more fair for everybody involved.
Thank you. Does anyone like to share? Yes.
Hi, so I'm on the Society Exec Board, and I've had to attend the disciplinary before with one of the sabbatical officers and a member of staff, and I think it was very early on in the year, and it was very intense for the sabbatical officer who obviously hadn't had that proper training, and we did end up relying quite a lot, especially coming from a position where it is a fellow student and is someone who had been in contact a lot with the sabbatical officer asking for support in certain roles, to then be trying to discipline them when you feel kind of a bit awkward about it, especially when they are constantly saying to you, asking for support, and then you're having other people raise complaints against them. I do think that this is quite an important place to put, because it then does get rid of that awkward, well, I've been trying to help this person, now I'm obviously raising a disciplinary, I'm now on the disciplinary council against them. So
Yeah.
The new procedure also removes the second role of the escalation administrator. It was previously that as well.
Does anyone would like to share your opinion more? If now we're going to start a vote. the vote is closed. This motion is passed. Now we have one motion for ordinary motions, and I would like to ask Leo to come up and explain. Thank you.
So I'm really, really sorry that all I'm talking about today is finances, because I know it's not the most exciting thing, but this is quite important. So I don't think there's a single student in this room who's not struggled with the cost of living, maintenance loans. If you're an international student paying tuition fees at some point throughout your degree, and I think this is often accepted as just kind of how it is. I don't think it should just be how it is. There are a lot of other sabbatical officers and students' unions across the country who don't think this is just how it should be. And I think there's work we can do to campaign and lobby the government on changing this. So this motion I'm proposing is essentially it's a bit roundabout, but for Student Council to mandate us, probably me, to lobby the government on reforming higher education funding and putting in more sort of cost of living support, making sure the cost of living is more achievable, I suppose, for students. This is a really good time to do it because it's a fairly new government. We've got a education secretary who's fairly local. She's the MP for Sunderland. And I think if we put our voices in with the voices of all the other students' unions across the country who are campaigning on this right now, it will lead to something changing further down the line. I don't think the system we've got right now is sustainable, whether it's the tuition fee system, where we end up exploiting really and overly relying on international students, or the maintenance loan system, where we just have to accept that students will never have enough to live a decent life on unless you're working like many hours a month. So yes, please vote on this motion so that we can, as a students' union, work together to lobby the government around this. And again, sorry that all I'm talking about today is finances.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about this motion? Yes.
So obviously I hear government lobbying, and the first thing I think is, we're current members of the NUS. So will you be doing that with them, or is that a more localized thing with just us?
I'm already working quite a bit with the NUS, that on kind of like the national days when we're going down to London and everything, kind of like open letters and stuff. So this would be for us to also campaign locally to our local MPs outside of the national NUS stuff that is already kind of part of my role. Sorry, could you shout? Not really. I don't think the current MPs have like that big of a focus on higher education, from what I've heard. I know we've always had fairly good relationships with them, and I would like to keep that going forwards. I suppose the difficult bit, and why I really want to work on this kind of nationally with other students' unions at the same time, is that our MPs tend to very much vote within like the party line, so what the rest of the Labour Party is voting. And that's the same case for a lot of MPs across the country. So I think it's really valuable to kind of join this collective effort and push as hard as we can.
Does anyone have any more questions? Yes.
If the motion gets passed, does the regulations for UK also pass? So in the sense, now it is £12,471 as the for the postgraduate master's loan, right? So if this is getting passed, would the UK regulations also change?
Unfortunately not, so it would be us lobbying the government to change the regulations at that level.
And what would be its impact internationally?
So one of the things I really want to get MPs talking about is that the tuition fee system is really, really unsustainable, because it it expects home students to be paying for their entire degree through loans without any government contribution. So that means that the amount, and because that amount is capped, it means that the amount home students are bringing to universities, it's not enough for them. So they end up way overcharging international students. So I would want to kind of find more of a balance because it's unreliable, it's unsustainable, and it's just unethical. Like, you're charging one group of students so much more just because of where you were born. And I say this like as an international student myself, it's just not fair.
Does anyone want to ask a question more? If not, Leo can have a seat. Thank you. Now, does anyone have any opinions that you would like to share for or against the motion? Yes.
As a seconder of this motion, I can only back everything that Leo has said. We know that the student voice can make an impact on a national level, as we've just seen with the update to the Renters' Rights Bill, which Leo, myself, Linming, and Hisham have been working on over the last couple of months. So we know that the student voice has impact nationally and can make changes in the government. And the cost of living crisis it's moved beyond a crisis and has become an epidemic. So this motion will not only mandate us to do this work this year, but also we've tried to build longevity into this and mandate the following sabbatical officers in the years to come to keep fighting for this, because we know that changes can be made. And it's worth it. Because we're broke.
Any more opinions that you'd like to share? If not, we're going to start a vote. Now the vote is closed. This motion is passed. Next, we are moving on to elections for positions selected by council. We have one place available, which is scrutiny committee, and I'd like to ask either Tom or Leo to come up and explain. Yeah.
Hello. For anyone who wasn't listening the first time, I'm Tom. I'm the chair of scrutiny. Um, this is my committee. We basically chat to these lovely people in the front row and make sure they're doing as they're meant to. We yeah, have someone dropped out, so we have a place going free. So if anyone would like to do it, you can ask any questions or whatever. Yeah, please put yourself forwards.
Yes.
Cool. Yes. Yes, good point. So, in terms of the time commitment that's expected, according to the official document, you're expected to reply to your emails within a month. Um, and come to, and if you miss one meeting, sorry, 3 meetings in a row, you drop out. It's about 1 hour and a half meeting a month, approximately, give or take, maybe 2 hours a month. Yeah, yeah, 2 hours. Let's go for 2 hours a month. So yeah, that's about it.
Yes.
Yes, are you going to put? Cool. Oh, hang on. I think we have some more questions. Oh,
Oh, you can go over.
oh, yeah. Yeah. You can't put yourself forwards. That would be all sorts of conflicts of interest.
The idea is to grab it, or shall I just give you? If you show me, yeah, I can write down. Can you duration?
by one to stand up.
Thank you. So we have three people who nominate themselves, and I would like to ask them to come up and introduce yourself first, and then explain why people should vote for you. And I would like to ask Kasra first. Yeah. Introduce yourself, and then why people should vote for you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaz. I'm an international student. You guys might know me from the previous meetings. I've been all over the university. I'm actually interested in the scrutiny committee position because I do like asking questions. I want to know more and make sure that all the staffs are upholding the responsibilities, which I'm sure they are. They're really lovely. I've volunteered at the business school as a DEI representative. I was in the disciplinary committee before we had to disband that, sadly. I've been also in the council for a few months. I'd be happy to be part of the committee as well, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, can I ask Rishav? Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Yeah, okay. So, my name is Rishav Shyam. I'm from India. Uh, Pretty new to Newcastle. It has been 4 months. Amazing city. Well, why the scrutiny committee? So, basically, this is my first day, and the energy is amazing. And I think I qualify for this because I already have a 6 years experience in my professional career as a data analyst, and being a data analyst, I have quite an eye for the details. So I think, and then again, during the motions, I was like asking repetitive questions, and then at a moment I felt, okay, probably I'm going to piss them off. And then this comes up, and then I'm like, okay, I can do well here. So yeah, that's my pitch, short and simple. So thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, I would like to ask Sohaila.
Don't think I can top that up. Is hello? Right, that works. So I'm Sohaila. I'm an international student. I'm a study biomedical science, and I got a little bit of both. I've been in the SSC ever since I started. I was chair. My committee, we won an award as a single student representative. I won an award as well. But I've also, as a scientist, I also do have that attention to detail and just naturally very critical, naturally wanting to ask questions. I think I want to be part of the scrutiny committee because I love working with the student union and I want to kind of improve it. I've personally gotten a lot of benefit from it, and I genuinely just want to make the impact. And if that means through the scrutiny committee, that's where I am. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we're going to do a vote.
Ignore what other people did.
Now the voting is closed. So Sohalia is elected. Congratulations. Um, and we have another role called ethics and environment rep. If an, yeah. Yeah.
While Oliver puts himself forward for this role, I'll just quickly explain what it's about. Give you a few seconds to regret your decision in case you'd like to. You can if you like. Like, I'm glad we've got someone so keen to take the role. Um, Essentially, ethics and environments rep, it says what it says on the tin. You're representing the student voice on ethics and environment. Jasmine and I sometimes get you to sit in our place on some sort of sustainability oriented university committee, the name of which is escaping me right now because I'm on too many. The Sustainable Development Goals Committee, thank you. So sometimes we get the E&E rep to sit for us in place of that. At the moment, the E&E rep is a bit weird in the structure because the E&E rep used to be part of the Student Life Executive Committee, which got dissolved and not replaced. But we will still support you in your campaigning and make sure that you can represent ethical and environmental views to the best of your ability. So if you are interested, which I know at least one person is, which I'm very, very glad about, please let Harris know.
Thank you. If anyone is interested in this role, just come up and ask Harry.
Or if you have any questions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What was Oliver Tully. If not, Oliver is elected. Yeah. um, can I ask you to come up and? No. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Does anyone have any objections about Oliver being elected? Yeah. Now we are moving on to student notices. In this part, if you have any announcement you would like to speak, just feel free to speak up here. Yes. any more announcements that you would like to share? Yeah.
Just quickly, it's not like an event happening, but every year the activities officer runs something called the Festival of Culture, and it's basically just highlighting like or spotlighting um, cultural and or religious events that happen throughout the year. And this year I'm really focusing on like spotlighting events that are already happening on campus and that societies and student groups are already running. And I can hopefully help put comms and a little tiny bit of funding into it to kind of make it bigger and better. But if you have any events like that coming up, or if you would like to talk to me about maybe putting one on, contact me. This is more kind of for student groups and societies rather than individuals wanting to get involved. But just let me know.
Thank you. Any more announcements? If not, we are moving on to open debate.
I'm happy to present it.
Yeah, thank
Did you lose rock, paper, scissors again?
Sorry?
Did you lose rock, paper, scissors?
The what?
Did you lose rock, paper, scissors?
The what?
Never mind.
It's rock, paper, scissors.
The scissors.
Did you lose rock, paper, scissors?
Oh no, Jasmine's just left.
I thought it's because I won.
No, I didn't lose rock. Jasmine and I usually rock.
Paper, scissors to see who has to present what. Okay, so this is the topic of today's open debate. If If you're interested in submitting a topic for future open debates, please email council.union@newcastle.ac.uk because Jasmine and I are beginning to run dry on debate ideas. So kind of thematically, I don't know why I'm shouting, I'm talking into a mic, I'm so sorry. Kind of thematically, the question for this open debate is student elections, are they fair or are they faff? A little disclaimer, they are a legal requirement, so we can't just get rid of them entirely. But it's sort of, I'd like to get the conversation going on, are student elections a good way to nominate our student leadership? Are they just a popularity contest? Do they give us the kind of people we want? What do we think? Do we think it's an overly arduous and complicated process? Do we think it's a fair process? So over to the chair.
Thank you. Since it's open debate, if you have any opinions that you would like to share, just raise your hand and then I'll point you out. Yeah, sure. Um, who do you want to ask? Uh, yeah.
I just wanted to ask what changes are happening from last year to this year that are supposed to make the elections a bit more fair.
Oh my goodness, I should know this because I had marketing made me do an entire video on this. I'm so sorry, Anne. Um, it, it is on the website.
I didn't want to make it, so.
It's election pledges.
Oh, yeah, we've made them. I'm probably not the best person to speak.
George.
You.
George, Laura.
I was going pledges. You know how to talk about pledges.
Yes, I do know how to talk about pledges. So in past years we've had officers write a manifesto, which is generally like really, really broad. It can be about literally anything. You can promise free iPads, free donuts. And it wasn't the most targeted. It meant you got a very wide range of manifestos. This year we're doing pledges instead, which is it's things that are relevant to your role, and it's kind of what do you pledge to do to improve the student experience around this topic if you get elected into this role. And it's also, we're also not submitting pledges until after candidate screening, so you know a bit more about what the role is before you write a document about why you should be elected.
Thank you. So anyone has any opinions that you want to share?
My opinion is that's a good idea. Just to contribute to the debate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, legal requirements, so we can't say much about whether we actually hold elections or not. I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword because on one hand, like it makes sure student voice gets heard. On the other
Any more opinions?
Not a opinion, but discipline of information. Is it a first past the post system? I thought it was a single transferable vote
Oh, that's the
system.
one.
Yeah, because first past the post system
That's
is
what
what the
that's what
government
that's
does
what I meant
follow. Yeah.
to get confused, but yeah, because it's single transferable vote.
Yeah.
It's confusing. I don't get it.
I think George is trying to explain it to you.
I was going to explain. I was just going to say that this is the body that could change that. So if we wanted to transfer the motion, we could change it to first past the post, and people start that process.
because of the time limit, we will have only two more person, two more people, two persons. Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting to point out though, which it's just the fact that you sort of require them to create a topic and get them want to particularly talk about, take part in, and obviously establishing those nominations just as a draw again. If there's nominations two, what sort of
Yeah.
Best way to disagree with that, or even if you don't do that, make it clear that when those people reply, that they have already run once and didn't get through because of grants. But also, I'm sorry to like move much more on, but I just want to go back to Hass's point about appealing more to like first year students in the elections getting involved. I think the problem with that is that there isn't really any reason for candidates to try and appeal their campaigns to more first year students because they know that because none of them are really voting on it, that they're not really going to win any votes by doing that. So I think the solution to that is more scrutiny, like at council and at debates towards elected officers, to say like, why are you not doing more for like first year students who are just coming to university? So yeah, I think it's more down to like the way you treat elected officers than like saying to candidates themselves you need to appeal more to first years.
Um,
Can I say one more thing? One more.
okay, last one.
Would we look at getting maybe a first year officer who's left early in their first year to represent first year to try and get them more involved? Maybe a learning officer, maybe?
It could be a setup, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. Leo, can I ask you to summarize the discussion or?
Yes, you can. We discussed. Um, yeah, we discussed many. Sorry, I was listening but not taking notes. We discussed many things and came to not clear conclusions. Um, there was discussion around reopen nominations and whether we should be treating that differently. Discussion on first years, how to engage them and represent them. Um, and discussion on candidates. There were discussions on candidates and elections. I forgot that when I presented. That also means I usually summarize it.
Mm, thank you. So that was it for the first council this year. Thanks for everyone who participated in the discussion and the first council as well. And also there's next council on the board, so it's 20th of March. So make sure the next council to attend as well. And thanks everyone, and also put all the trash in the bin, please, before you leave as well. Thank you, everyone.